I am interviewing Dorothy Morelli, CEO of Paths Education Worldwide. What is your past work experience?
I've been a teacher and administrator in both schools that were small and very large urban district. I've also been at Vanderbilt University, was there for 14 years and worked as an educational coordinator in the Fast Track Project, one of the largest federal grants ever given, dealing with mental health and students at risk. I've also been the lead trainer for Paths Education Worldwide, and I currently serve as the CEO for Paths Education Worldwide.
Okay, in your experience as an administrator, teacher, and CEO of nonprofit, what types of cultural diversity have you been exposed to? Some in the school setting, and what about also in the professional world?
Well, we are in over 30 countries, so we deal with diverse populations every day. We deal with urban districts, not only in America, but in England. We deal with all the schools in Singapore that have special education students, so that's a very diverse setting. We deal with large urban districts. We're in Chicago, New York City, Cleveland. So that's very interesting compared to other suburban districts that we are currently in as well. As far as teaching, I think not only was there diversity with students, but diversity among staff and diversity among parents.
Great answer. How do you resolve race issues in and outside of the classroom between students? As well, what are some strategies you have tried and how did these work out?
Well, I think we as educators can't resolve the issues with students. I think we can only educate. And so many of the race issues come because of ignorance and the lack of empathy and the lack of knowing what someone else's feelings are. So I think it's really important for us as educators to work together to help children become more informed. And of course, I think mediation is a great way to help children. They learn to calm down, they learn to solve their own problems. PATHS, which stands for Promoting Alternative Thinking Strategies, and which is from pre-K through 6th grade, does a great job with this. We do biographies of very different ethnicities and gender. Aung San Suu Kyi, Benjamin Carson, Trevor Farrell, who was an 11-year-old who started now a huge nonprofit to help with the issue of homelessness. So I think it's education, both educating ourselves about diversity as educators and then in turn helping children.
What has been one of your most challenging experiences as an educator? What has been your most rewarding experience?
One of the most challenging is helping get parents involved. We have parents that we deal with that have had horrible experiences at school themselves, so they don't want to come to school. They think it's a bad place, they think it's a negative environment. So that's been really challenging. I truly, truly believe that we need our parents to be involved. Another challenge is helping new teachers and preventing burnout, and we're working with mindfulness right now. Have had several longitudinal studies with that. Rewards, helping children, helping families.
In your opinion, do school systems and or most teachers treat both genders with equal respect and fairness?
No, I don't think we do, and I think it's because we are all biased. We are raised with, especially some of us older educators, we are raised with gender bias. I think we're getting better at it, but also I think it's very interesting. We work in a couple of schools that are all boys schools or all girls schools, and these are not charter schools, these are public schools. And it's been very interesting to see the research, the difference between when girls are all together and how they handle that than when it's with co-ed schools.
How do you think Christians are able to share their beliefs with students and others when religion is banned from public schools?
Well, I think one way some teachers do it is through history, and they may share their beliefs as far, maybe not their beliefs, but they expose children to Christianity through history. I also think in high school I know that they have FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, but I also know sharing your own beliefs when you are a role model is not always the best way to handle things, because we do work with children that are Muslim, we do work with children that are Jewish, we work with children whose parents are atheists. So I'm not sure that it's our responsibility to share that with students.
With the rise of discussion of different views concerning the LGBTQ community, should teachers discuss, prepare, and teach students about sexual orientation?
Well, very interesting. I was attending a conference not long ago concerning those same issues, and I think once again we've got to educate our educators. So many of us feel very incompetent when it comes to those topics. We're not well informed. We don't know how to approach this subject with children. I think we all have bias. We all have prejudice. And really, we need to start these discussions among ourselves in faculty meetings and professional development before we can go on.
In your experience, what cultural problems have arisen between students, and what steps did you take in order to combat these?
I think a lot of cultural issues happen in neighborhoods, and it spills over into schools. So as I said before, with PATHS, we talk about diversity, and we also talk about commonalities, because we know children become friends when they have commonalities, but we also talk about perspective taking. You know, developmentally, children have to learn to be able to take others' perspectives. So it is challenging, but once again, I think we have to help children see that it's okay to be diverse. As a matter of fact, it's interesting, and we can learn from each other when we're willing to look at others' perspectives.
In a physical education setting, what are some steps and procedures that teachers can employ in order to guarantee gender fairness?
You know, I think their old adage, and I remember when my child was young, she wanted to play football, and she wasn't allowed because she was a girl. And I always said, absolutely go play football. So, same thing. If a young male student wants to be a cheerleader, by all rights, they should be a cheerleader. So I think it's hard for us to do that, but I also think, once again, we can do that by role models. Wilma Rudolph, wonderful athlete, and you know, at one time she was afflicted with a serious illness. Her brothers and sisters had to help her, and there's so many other role models that we can talk about. Also think it's okay for in PE for there to be choices, for children to be able to have some of that free choice, because I think that really helps them develop not only as athletes and as maybe diverse students, but it also helps them develop and know themselves more.
This is the last question. What advice do you give to young teachers when it comes to bringing up those hard issues to discuss, such as race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and gender equality?
Well, first of all, I always talk to young teachers about taking care of themselves first, because the burnout rate is soaring in the United States. And I also talk to them about know what you think about this, because students are going to ask you hard questions, and you have to know what's appropriate, but you also have to be within school guidelines. I think that's very important as well. Read, find out more. Again, go to professional development. Ask your principal, what should I be doing? The students are going to talk about this, and it's up to us to help lead them through a really beneficial discussion.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.